Hey guys, welcome to a new video. I'm Sylvia from Catchy Cravings and I want to inspire you and help you master healthy eating so that if that is something that sounds fantastic to you, be sure to subscribe for more health related topics. So today I wanted to talk about how to go about minimalist grocery shopping, and if that sounds kind of confusing to you, then just keep on watching and I'll explain to you guys what that means. So first of all, what is minimalism? Minimalism is about only buying and owning and doing what you truly need or what truly makes you happy. And by happy, I mean not only like in the moment or in a short-term context, but in the long run. So essentially, minimalism is about being very conscious and very wise on how you spend your money, but also how you spend your time. So we're going to apply these minimalist principles onto grocery shopping. So essentially that lets us set 3 different types of goals. So goal number 1 is to spend your money on only the essentials when it comes to grocery shopping or ingredients shopping. Then secondly, it's about managing your time effectively when it comes to being in the store. And thirdly, it's about creating as little waste as possible in the kitchen. So here are my tips on how to achieve these minimalist grocery shopping goals. So our goal number 1 is to only spend money on the grocery essentials. So my tip for that is to quite obviously plan out your meals and make a shopping list. What I like to do is I plan out my meals for the next week or around like 3 to 4 days. And what I like to do is I then make another list where I write down all the ingredients I need for those specific meals. So when I go to the grocery store, I immediately know what I need and I'm not standing around in an aisle and not really knowing what to get. And then I pick up random things that often don't really mix and match by the time I get home. Because I just went into that situation so cluelessly. So my tip would be to plan out your meals and write a grocery list. Also, another tip for goal number 1 would be not to shop on an empty stomach. I've said this before in a different video of mine. Well, for me at least, shopping on an empty stomach, everything just starts to look really nice and delicious and I end up buying so many more snacks especially than I initially planned, and I just tend to overspend on unnecessary things like those snacks that I want in the moment because I'm so hungry. So instead, make sure that your tummy is not grumbling when you walk into that grocery store. Also, another tip would be if you've researched your recipes and you found a recipe that sounds really good to you, make sure that you go through that ingredients list and check to see if you truly 100% need to follow those ingredients. If you're slightly on a budget and the recipe calls for lentil pasta or chickpea pasta, those tend to be a little bit more pricey than traditional pasta, so that is something you might want to keep in mind. I just wanted to let you guys know that recipes aren't as strict as they seem. You can totally switch out specific things to meet your needs. For example, if the recipe calls for Tabasco sauce and you know that is something that you don't really grab often, maybe you just skip out the Tabasco sauce and season it or spice it with something else that you know you're going to reach for more often. That way things aren't going bad in your fridge or pantry. So our goal number 2 was to spend your time wisely and efficiently at the grocery store. So my number 1 tip for that is to write out your grocery list as your store is kind of structured. So you want to be imagining your grocery store and how it is laid out, and write your list according to the route that you would walk through. So for example, if I imagine my grocery store, when you walk right through that door, the first thing that is there are fresh fruits and fresh, that word sounds weird when you say it too often. Fresh veggies and fruit. So what I would do is write down the fruit and the veggies that I need to purchase that specific day at the top of my list. And on the end of my grocery route would be the frozen things, so I'd write down the frozen things at the end of my list. So this way I'm not running back and forth and grabbing different things and scanning up and down my recipe list, and everything is nice and structured and I'm in and out in a much more timely manner. Also, another tip would be to maybe observe your grocery store that you go to regularly, find out what time the grocery store is most empty and try to shop at that time. I totally understand that that's not an option for everyone, but when the grocery store is super packed, I find myself being more stressed, and it's just more difficult to reach the things that you need, or a lot of the times then the things aren't stocked, and it's just difficult to maneuver your shopping cart through if there's so many people present. I know I have that problem at my grocery store, so try to shop when there are less people there. Also, another tip would be to shop less frequently. When you go grocery shopping, it isn't only the time inside the store that counts. It is also the time that you need to travel to the store. So if you're traveling 3-4 times a week, you're spending that additional time traveling back and forth to the grocery store, whereas if you make sure to shop only once or twice a week, you would definitely cut down on that transportation time, and it just saves you time in general. So that comes back to the planning your meals beforehand, so you're not forgetting things or buying things on a whim, but everything is structured and planned out. So goal number 3 was to produce as little waste as possible, and for this, my tip would also be to plan out your meals. This is a huge one for me, because now that you've planned out your meals, you know exactly what you need, you know exactly what you're gonna cook, and you're not buying random things where you're then at home trying to whip up this dish with the ingredients that you have. That can be fun too, and I know that I'm most creative when I have to work with weird ingredients that I have at home, but if you do this on a regular basis, it often just leads to things going bad because you're not using it, or just, yeah, mostly just things going bad because you're not using it because you haven't planned it out well. So my tip is to plan out your recipes. It is good for so many reasons. Another tip of mine is that you don't need to go about your weekly meal planning so incredibly strictly. So if you find that the tomatoes that you've bought are starting to go a little soft, or the carrots are starting to look a little more pale, then try to use those ingredients first, instead of sticking so strictly to your meal plan that you let your ingredients go bad, because that would be such a waste of resources and money. So try to prioritize or go about your meals in a way that you prioritize ingredients that look like they're going to go bad soon. Also, another tip of mine, and what I think is a no-brainer, is to save leftovers. Of course, I know that isn't possible for a lot of the things. Sometimes it just isn't possible to say, for example, a salad. I totally get that, but my tip would not only be to save the food in your fridge, but to rather save it in your freezer. At least for me, I find that if I put it in the freezer, it lasts me around 2 to 3 days, but I often forget about it in my fridge. So put it in your freezer. That way it stays fresh far longer, and yeah, you don't have to worry that you'll forget about it, or worry about it going bad. So those were my tips when it comes to minimalist grocery shopping. So to recap, a minimalist grocery shopping has the goal of only spending money on the essential things that you absolutely need, or that truly make you happy. Then secondly is to spend your time in the grocery store as efficiently as possible. And thirdly, to minimize the waste that you're producing. So I hope these tips were helpful. Maybe there are some tips that are going to be a game changer for you. If that is the case, let me know which ones you like the best in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video or like these tips, then be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more similar videos or videos on health related topics, feel free to subscribe for more. I upload weekly. And other than that, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys!